Yo, what's good with y'all? In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to make a Brainrot game. So pretty much one of the most popular genres on Roblox right now is Brainrot games. So I'm showing you guys how to make it. This is pretty much modeled after the Still a Brainrot, one of the most popular Brainrot games on Roblox. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. Okay, so first things first, you guys will need your Explorer, Properties, and Output tab open. If you don't have that open, literally go to the top here, click Window, and then just make sure each one is checked. If it's not checked, then just click it to open the tab. We need the output to debug scripting errors, the Explorer, so we can see all of our objects inside of our services and whatnot, and then properties to just view the properties of our objects, right? So first things first, let's start off with the workspace. Let's start off with creating our base as well as the NPC spawner, right? So I want to say let's go ahead and knock one thing out, which is creating the folder for NPCs. So we're going to have a folder that keeps track of all the NPCs that are currently walking across the thing. Let's say like Still a Brainrot, you guys know how they walk across. I'm gonna call it a maybe a conveyor. I'm gonna say a conveyor. They walk across the conveyor till they get to the end, right? We need a folder to store all the NPCs currently walking. So we're going to create a folder, insert a folder into workspace, name this folder NPCs, and then we're just going to parent all of the NPCs that are walking on the conveyor that are being moved. We're going to parent them to this folder, right? Now let's go ahead and let's get started with the NPC spawner. This will be really quick, nothing too crazy. So I'm just going to go right here. First things first, I'm going to go ahead and insert a part, right? I'm going to scale this. So I'm gonna make this pretty long. So you want this to be pretty long, not too long, because remember, NPCs are gonna walk from like one point to the other point. So you don't want it to be like, all the way there, nor do you want it to be like this. You want it to be a good stretch because you want players to be able to, come in and try to buy NPCs and stuff. So I will call this, I'll just call this carpet, right? I'm gonna call this carpet. I will set the color to be a nice red. Um, I'm gonna scale it a little bit, yeah, like that, right? I then want to group it so we can right click group as model, right? And then you can go ahead and rename this to be NPC Spawner, and then we will continue adding on here so that we can create the spawner. So we have our spawner, or sorry, we have the carpet, and then what we need to do is we're gonna go ahead and create the start and end parts just to show like this where we start and end. So I'm gonna create a part. I'm gonna put it right here. We'll consider this to be the start. So I will wrong thing. I will go like this. Bam, like that. Go up, right? This will be our starting point. So I'll just make this color like a dark, kind of like a darkish gray black kind of thing, right? Um, make sure it's anchored, of course, and then we can just go ahead and name this start, right? And then you can go ahead and drag this into the NPC spawner. Then we can duplicate this. You can do this by while having it selected, press Control plus D on your keyboard, or just right click and then just duplicate. Then I'm just literally gonna move this down to the other end. So boom, we're gonna move this down to the other end. So boom, at the end, and then we could just name this end, or my bad, did not mean to lock that. Then we have set to end. Right, then we need an actual spawner. So the part we're about to create, this is where the NPCs actually spawn at. So let's create this part. We're gonna move this right here. It should be obviously in front of your starting part. So we'll make it kind of like this. Boom. And then you guys could go ahead and name this to be your spawner, right? Then of course we want this to be invisible, so disable can't collide. Make sure it's anchored and set the transparency to 1, right? And then of course make sure you drag your spawner into the NPC spawner, right? Now for the last thing we need to do, we need checkpoints. Now I want to make this very clear. It's not that difficult, right? But we need to go ahead and do this. So for your spawner, you could just go ahead and so while having the spawner selected, just go ahead and duplicate it. You want to move this forward, right? Set the transparency to 0.5, and then you're gonna want to rename this to I'm trying to think. I think it's just checkpoint. I think it's just check. If I remember correctly, I think it's just checkpoint. Yeah, it's just check. It should just be like checkpoint. I think it's like this, checkpoint 1, I think. But we'll change this if there's issue later. But anyway, so the point is this, right? These are your checkpoints, right? Each checkpoint is essentially like a stopping point for the NPC. The NPC is gonna walk is going to go in order. So this is checkpoint 1. Then we're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many checkpoints it takes till you get to the end. You do not need to have the same amount of checkpoints as me. All that matters is that your checkpoints are ordered correctly, right? You see how this is checkpoint 1 and this is the first checkpoint? It's very important because it's going to go in order. So don't have checkpoint 1, 5, 12, 14, like, it needs to be in order. And then this does not need to be, it doesn't need to be this big of a part. You can just make this something very tiny. And then preferably, it's usually best to keep it in the middle, so like they, stay on track. So I guess more so like here and stuff like that, right? It can be like a tiny little cube like that, right? And then what we can go ahead and do is we can right click the checkpoint, our first checkpoint, group as model, and then this will be our checkpoint. We'll keep them all inside of this model. So checkpoints, boom. And then from here, we can just simply duplicate. So Control plus D or right click and duplicate. And then literally we're just gonna move it. We're just gonna move it down a few steps in front of it, update the name, checkpoint 2, right? And then we're just gonna keep going. Remember, it has to be in order. So duplicate, move it down some more, checkpoint 3, duplicate, move it down some more, checkpoint 4, duplicate, move it down some more, checkpoint 5, duplicate again, move it down some more. This will be checkpoint 6. Again, it won't be the same for everybody. Some will have less, some will have more by the time we're done. Duplicate it, boom, go down to the end, checkpoint 7, duplicate, boom, go down some more, checkpoint 8, boom, duplicate, and then we'll go down again, and then checkpoint 9, again, this is checkpoint 10, so we're now in the double digits, and then we are almost at the end, so this would be 11, duplicate it again, this will be 12, again, this will be 13, and then again, this will be 14, and then I think we should be good with just one more. Duplicate it one more time, 15, or actually, no, let's get one more. So 15, then we'll duplicate it again, and then I want this all the way. I want this one all the way at the end. So like here. So like here. And then this will be checkpoint 16. Boom, right? So we'll just do something like that. Okay, we have all of our checkpoints, and then they should be in order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, however many you have, right? Okay, and then we're done with our checkpoints. So you can right click checkpoints, hierarchy, select children, make sure they're transparent, of course, make sure they are anchored and that can't collide is disabled, right? And then we are done with our checkpoints and we are actually done with our NPC spawner altogether. Now we can move on to designing our base. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and let's start making the base. So for the first thing I'm gonna do, I guess I'll just probably start honestly with the walls. So I'm gonna go ahead and insert a part. I'm just gonna go ahead and just add this. I'm gonna right click group as model. You're just gonna name this base 1, right? When you want to add a second base, it's gonna be called base 2. You can just duplicate it and then just rename it to be base 2, a third base, base 3. That's all you gotta do. So this is gonna be our first wall. So let's see. This will be, I guess this will be the left wall. Yeah, this will be the left wall. So I'll call it the left wall. I will make it a nice kind of grayish color. And then I will scale it. Okay, let's do this. So something like this. I think that's wide enough for the base, right? Your base does not need to be the exact same measurements or anything like mine. I am just a programmer, so my base is not really going to look all that visually appealing. It's just literally just for the sake of just getting the point across, to be honest. But yeah, so we have our left wall, right? And then I'm going to duplicate this again, Control plus D, or right click and then duplicate. Then I'm just going to move this wall over. This is going to be our right wall. So right wall. Then what we can do is we can duplicate this again, Control plus D, drag this. Then I'm just going to rotate this 90 degrees. Boom. I'm then going to move this back here. My bad. This is going to be our back, call this back wall. I'm going to move this all the way to the back. And then I think, yeah, there's no need for a whole bunch of, there's no need for like a whole bunch of space. So I'm just going to move the walls closer so that they're so that they are touching. Then we'll just make this um close enough, and then I'll just scale this down a little bit. There we go. Okay, cool. And then I will get I will get the left wall. We will move this over, then scale, something like that. Okay, cool. All right, there we go. So we now have all of our walls and stuff, right? We have the back wall, left wall, right wall, and stuff. And then what we can go ahead and do is we can select all three and stuff, or sorry, click one, and then you can hold the control key bind, and then to select all of them, or you could just right click and then just again hierarchy, select children, or individually, doesn't matter. Right click, group as model again. This, we're going to use this to keep track of our walls. Very important. Do the same thing, hierarchy, select children. Make sure all the walls are anchored and can collide is enabled. Very important. Um, yeah. So then once we have our wall, let's go ahead and let's make a roof, right? So we can go ahead and I'll just insert another part to be honest. So just insert a part, throw it at the top here, and then I'll just same color. Then I'm just gonna scale it. So we'll just do it like kind of like, let me see, like something like this. Okay, I'll scale it across to be like that. Yeah, I think I'm not gonna lie. I do think the base is a little bit bigger than it needs to be, but it's fine. So we have our wall, or sorry, not our wall, our roof. So we have our roof here. Scale this up a little bit. Okay, there we go. And then I will just make it come outward a little bit. Boom. Okay, we have our roof. So go ahead and name this part roof. Make sure it's anchored, and then you can just drag and drop it into the base. It does not need to be in the walls because it's, obviously not a wall. Let's go ahead and add the owner value. So on the base scoop model, we're going to click the plus icon. You're going to insert a string value. You're going to rename this to be owner. This is what we're going to use to keep track of the player of whatever player currently owns the base at the time. So by default, set this to none since no players own it by default, right? And then for the next thing, I want to say the next thing we do, let's go ahead and let's knock out the lasers. Okay, so we're gonna have the lasers. As you guys know, when a player locks their base, lasers appear and stuff like that to prevent other players from entering their base. So let's go ahead and let's make that real quick. So we're gonna go ahead and insert another part, but click this part right here, and then we're going to insert a cylinder this time because we want it to be, cylindrical like shapes. It's supposed to be laser beams kind of thing. Um, that is not at the end. So you pretty much want it to be, did not mean to do that. So you pretty much want it to be at the front of your base, like where the players would be able to enter. So I'm just gonna scale this up a little bit, right? All you need to do is just make one perfect one, and then you're just gonna duplicate and then just keep going from there. So we're gonna make this red, 0.5 transparency, because this is how it'll look. So something like this. You can disable can't collide and make sure it is anchored, right? And then you can just go ahead and name this part laser. You can go ahead and drag this part inside of the base, right click, group as model, and then just name this model lasers to keep track of all of our current lasers. Then we're just going to duplicate and just keep moving it over and over. So bam, duplicate, bam, bam, bam. So this is literally just Control plus D over and over again. We're just duplicating the laser beams and stuff. So this is what it's going to look like when a player locks their base and they don't want any other player that they either that's not them or that they don't have like whitelisted able to enter their base. So pretty much locking down their base. So you just want to keep going, just keep put a little space in between them. Kind of treat it like making a jail cell, kind of essentially. And then where's the last one? Okay, and there we go. Okay, cool. All right, we have all our lasers, right? So boom, what we can go ahead and do is right click the lasers model, and then we're going to select hierarchy, select children. By default, transparency should be set to 1, right? Because by default these should not be visible. Um, make sure can collide is disabled and make sure they're anchored. Okay, and then we are done with our lasers. That's another part of the base we are done with. Moving on, we can go ahead and I'd say we can honestly go ahead and move forward. with hmm, let's go ahead and move forward. The next thing, let's do the platforms next. Okay, so the platforms, this is where the NPCs will be standing on, and where you can also and then we'll have a collector where you can collect money for however much money the NPC has generated you, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and insert another part. Oh, my bad, wrong type of part. We're gonna go back to our block, and then yeah, this is what we need. So we're gonna do this, right? We're going to scale this something like this, so the NPC will stand on this, right? The NPC will stand on this. We can go ahead and right click this part, group as model. You can rename this model to be platform, and then you're going to put one, right? Platform number one. When you want another platform, platform two, another platform, platform three, etc., etc. You just want to keep incrementing the numbers, increasing them. No two platforms should have the same name, right? Now the part inside will literally just be called the platform, because this is the actual platform part. This is where the NPC will stand. So we can go ahead and make sure this is anchored, can't collide, can be enabled. And then from here we need to insert a string value. This is going to be the current unit. So essentially, if there's a NPC or a Brainrot on top of this platform, like it's currently being used by default, again, none by default. And then if it is being used by an NPC, then its value will be updated to reflect the name of said NPC, right? So from here, we then have I'm trying to think what you would call it. We have current unit, right? And then now we need our collector. So we're gonna click platform. We can just go ahead and duplicate this, Control plus D, and then just move it. You just want to move it forward a little bit, put some space in between the two of them, right? It doesn't need to be as wide as that, I want to say. And then you can just scale all the way down, and then I'm just gonna set it, or well, I'm just gonna let it up a little bit actually. I'm just gonna set it to be green. This is gonna be our collector, where you collect your money. So I'm just gonna up a little bit. So boom, or let me do a better green. I feel like there's a maybe something like this. So yeah, this is our collector part. So you can go ahead and name this to be collector, right? Then of course same thing. Make sure it's anchored, can't collide, enabled, all that greatness. Then you're gonna insert a billboard GUI into the collector. So billboard GUI, and then you're going to rename it to be collector GUI. So collector GUI, right? That's what you're going to name it. So collector GUI, then you can insert a text label into it, right? And then you can go ahead and rename this text label to be collect text label, right? Now it is very important that you make sure the collector's GUI properties as well as the text labels match mine, or else you will experience some issues. Now, if you know what you're doing, then by all means do as you please. But if you don't, then just follow along with the video. So for the size, we're gonna do 10, 0, 2, 0. This is for the collector GUI. Then for the size offset, we're gonna do 0, 1. Then we're gonna go back here. Oh, my bad. This is supposed to collect text label. Okay, there you go. Now, so that should be it for that. As for the collect text label, position will remain the same. Size will be 1, 0, 0.5, 0, right? This will be the collect text label. Um, so yeah, we have that. And then we can go ahead and do bold text, rich text, scale text. So since this is money, we can have a nice green color going. Text stroke transparency will be set to 0. Text stroke color will be black. Then you can set the text to nothing by default. Then we can go ahead and set background transparency to 1. Then let's go ahead and let's duplicate this. So we can right click duplicate. And then we can rename this text label to be money text label, right? So we can then, this is going to display how much money, this is going to display how much money the NPC has currently made for I think collect is just, oh my bad, actually, sorry guys, I messed this up. Collect text label, I don't know why I can't speak. Change this text color back to like white. Yeah, we'll make it white and black. Money should be green. Yeah, money should be green, because this is the one where it's actually going to display how much money the player has earned. So as for this, for the position, this is going to be 0, 0, 0.5, 0. Size remains the same, and then yeah, just fill you with that, and then just like that, we are essentially done with the collector. we're done with the platform. So for when you want to make platform 2, you're just going to duplicate it, right click duplicate, or control plus D, doesn't matter. You're just gonna move it over, and then all you're gonna do is just name it platform 2. Boom, that simple, right? Then we already finished the walls and everything like that. Then let's go ahead, let's add a light inside because it's, as you can clearly see, it's, kind of dark. So let me go on ahead and add a part. I'm gonna put this at the top, and then I'm just gonna scale this a little bit. And then I'm just gonna rename this to be light. Did not mean to change the material. Where's plastic? There we go. Okay. So we're just gonna call this light. I'm gonna set the transparency to 1. Make sure it's anchored, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and insert a surface light into it. So bam, surface light. Then let's change the face. Let's see. Yep, there we go. And then let's change this color to be a nice bright yellow. And then let's do like 100 brightness. Let's definitely add some range with this. Oh wow, I think literally that's the max. Oh wow, okay. Um, that's pretty bright, I'm not gonna lie. Mm, oh right, that's what I need. Okay, perfect. Yep, there we go. So we can spread this out amongst the entire room. So something like that definitely does not need to be that bright, I will say. So probably like 20, or maybe like, yeah, something like that, just so that we can kind of see. Yeah, just a little spotlight kind of thing. Damn, I feel like that's not really doing much, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe like 10 or 20. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so we have our light. We're done with that. Um, so now moving on, let's go ahead and let's do the wall lock. Okay, so you guys know how we have the lasers here, but this isn't what actually stops players from entering. You're always gonna have an invisible part that actually prevents players from being able to enter the player's base. So we're gonna go ahead and, oh, by the way, oh my bad guys, I completely forgot. By the way, make sure you're going ahead and drag the platforms over to base 1 and stuff. Make sure you go ahead and drag your platforms over as well as your light and stuff. Make sure you just have everything inside of base 1 that needs to be inside of base 1, of course, right? So as for the next thing, we're gonna insert a part, right? We're gonna bring this right. You want this to be right in front of the base, right? So we're just gonna scale it all the way out. It should cover the entire front part of the base, right? And then we're just gonna go up like this, and then make it transparent. Disable can't collide by default. Make sure it's anchored, very important. And then you're just gonna name this, part wall lock. So this will be set to, so can't collide will be set to true for this when the base is locked. And then we can just drag this inside of the base. Then from here, we can then also add a spawner and stuff. So we can go ahead and insert another part. So you're just gonna put this in front of the base. This is where the player is gonna spawn. So just put this somewhere in front of the base. Really up to you kind of thing. So we'll just do this and just make it kind of like that. Okay. Then you can just rename this to be spawner, right? And then just you could disable can't collide. You can disable can't collide. Enable, make sure it's anchored, and then set transparency to 1. Drag the spawner to be inside of base 1, right? Then from here, I think really all we need now is the lock base and the roof. So lock base, this is where you actually trigger the lock base stuff. So it's going to be a little circle back here. So we're going to go all the way to the back. We're going to click this little down arrow. We're going to insert another cylinder. You're just going to scale it all the way down, and then you're just going to kind of stretch it out just a little bit, right? So something like that. Then you're just going to go here, right? So we have our lock base. We're going to make this yellow and stuff, but it's up to you for what color you want. You can go ahead and name this part lock base. It does as the name implies. Lock allows you to lock the base, make sure it's anchored, can collide is enabled and stuff, right? And then inside of lock base, we're going to insert a boolean. So bool value, and then it's going to be is locked. So if the base is currently locked, by default it should be set to false. This will be set to true when the base is unlocked, of course. Then inside of lock base, you're going to insert a billboard GUI. You can go ahead and name this GUI lock GUI, right? Then for the properties, for the size, you're going to do 10, comma 0, comma 5, comma 0, right? Size offset will be 0, comma 1. Then inside of lock GUI, we're going to have a lock text label. So you can go ahead and just add lock to the front here. So lock. Then for this, position remains the same, size is 1, comma 0, comma 1, comma 0. So something like that. And then you can just go ahead and set background transparency to be 1. Um, bold text, rich text, scale text. I think, and then, yeah, by default, we'll just have it set to lock base, right? Then we will set the text to be yellow. Text stroke color will be black. Text stroke transparency will be set to 0. And then boom, we're done with lock base, right? Moving on, we then have the roof. So there's supposed to be a sign on the roof that has the player's name, right? So what we're going to do is we can go ahead and just drag lock base into base 1. Then we're going to insert another part. So remember, this is going to be a regular block this time. We're going to drag it here, right? We're going to fully press it backwards, and then we're just going to go here. Remember, it's supposed to be a sign, so it's going to be pretty big, so something like that, right? So boom, just like that, we have our sign. Let's go ahead and make sure it is anchored. You can leave can't collide on. So where is anchored? It's like I'm lost. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it's anchored, and then we're gonna rename this to be sign, right? Then you can go on ahead and insert a billboard GUI into this, right? Then of course we're gonna name this to be sign, if I can type, sign GUI, right? And then, wait, I feel like oh my bad, I am so sorry guys, wrong type, wrong type. Okay, sorry, not billboard GUI. It's supposed to be a surface GUI. That's my bad guys. It's supposed to be a surface GUI, right? But same name though. Sign GUI, my bad. So then what you're going to do from here, you're going to insert a text label. You can adjust this as need be. So you're going to insert a text label, right? Notice how you don't see any of the text. So simply, we're just going to play around with the face. There we go, first try. So just keep changing directions until to where you can see it. Then from here, just go ahead and rename this to be sign text label, right? Then we're just going to update the size of the text label. So let's do 800. Let's see how. Yep. And then we're just literally just gonna keep going. Or actually, let's actually try this. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So, oh yeah, I keep forgetting you can just do that. So just do one by one, right? And then boom, we're gonna go down here, bold text, rich text, scale the text, right? And then we can set the text color to be white. Text stroke color will be black. Text stroke transparency can be set to 0, right? And then, yeah, that's really it. So you can go ahead and set the background transparency for the text label to be 1. And then by default, we can set the text to be empty base and stuff. And then I will make the background for the sign brown. So, yeah, something like that. Okay, boom. We are done. We are officially done with the sign and stuff. And then once we're done, we can go ahead and drag this into the base. So if I recall correctly, guys, I think that's about it. We have our owner value, lasers, our platforms, our walls, our lights, log base, roof, sign, spawner, and wall lock. Okay, guys, we are officially done with the base. We have completed the base. So in good news, we are also done with the workspace. So everything now is pretty much just coding. So good job, guys, and now let's move on. Okay, so moving on, now we're gonna do some quick UI, but it's just 2 elements, so don't worry, I'm not a UI creator myself. So find starter GUI, plus icon, screen GUI. You're gonna go ahead and rename this to be core GUI. You're gonna want to disable reset on spawn so the UI does not reset when a player respawns. Then you're gonna want to insert a text label. You're gonna put this in the bottom left. This is going to be our money text label. It's gonna display how much money we currently have. So money text label, right? You can go on ahead and set background transparency to 1, scroll down, bold text, rich text, scale text, set the text color to be green, right? By default, you could just have the money symbol and then just have like 100 or however much, it really doesn't matter. Text stroke color will be black, text stroke transparency will be set to 0, right? So then from here we have the money text label. And then we can duplicate this. So Control plus D, just duplicate it, and then just drag this one to like the kind of bottom middle-ish area. This is going to be our notification text label. So we're just going to want this to be like white and black by default. But we'll change the text color depending on the notification type. So this you can just rename to be notification text label. This so will show certain things like if an event is occurring, if their base is locked, if their base is unlocked, if someone's stealing from them, like things of that nature. So we have our notification text label, and then by default, set the text to just be like test or something. Really doesn't matter. And then boom, we are done. We are officially done with our UI. That simple, right? We can now officially move on to the scripting, hardest part. Okay, let me just go ahead and check to make sure we are good. Okay, we are good. All right, let's go on ahead and then, well, actually, wait, okay, we are good. All right, now moving on, let's go on ahead and let's open up Starter Player. Then you're gonna find Starter Player scripts plus icon, local scripts. You can go ahead and rename script to be core script in parentheses local, right? You're gonna want to delete print hello world. One thing I actually forgot to mention, we also need a remote event to communicate between the server and client. So find replicated storage plus icon remote event, and then just rename this to be core event, and then we can go ahead and get started. Okay, now back here, we're gonna create some variables. First is create a variable for replicated storage. So we're just gonna abbreviate. So RS for replicated storage is equal to game service replicated storage, right? Then it's create a variable for players. So players is equal to game get service players. We're getting our services first. Then we're going to create a variable for our remote event. Core event is equal to rs wait for child core event. Then let's create a variable for our players. So player is equal to game.players.local player. Then let's create a variable for our UI. So core GUI is equal to player.player GUI wait for child core GUI. Then let's create a variable for our let's create a variable I would say for our no our labels, right? So let's go ahead and say mm, notification text label, same names. So notification text label, right, is equal to core GUI dots notification text label, and then we have our our money text label, which is equal to core GUI dot money text label, right? So then we're going to start creating our first functions, right? So first we have the notify function. This literally just does as it says. It just changes the text from notification just to notify a player of an event occurring. So local function, this would be called notify. In parentheses, we're going to have two arguments. So text, so whatever we want the message to say, and the color, whatever the color to represent the theme of the message, whether it is a warning, if it's good news, whether it's, good news, bad news, or if it's neutral, right? So enter. So of course we would say notification text label dot text color 3 is equal to color. Then notification text label dot text is equal to text, right? Then we will delay this. So task dot delay. I'm gonna say 3 seconds, but it's up to you guys for how long you want this to be. 3 comma function close parentheses enter. Then we would say if notification text label dot text is equal to text. Then notification text label dot text is equal to an empty string, right? And then we're done with our first function. Very simple. Everything is really modularized and kind of broken into smaller functions, so I feel like it's much more digestible and easier for people to like read and understand it, right? So then on to our next function, we have set lasers. This will make the lasers, this will either make the lasers transparent or will make them visible, right? So pretty much when the base is locked or when the base is being locked or when it's being unlocked. So local function, and then we will say set lasers, right? Then we will have the specific base, then transparency, pretty much whether or not they're being set to transparent or if they're being set to being visible. So enter for underscore comma, then you're gonna put laser in I pairs, then you say base dot lasers get children close parentheses enter, right? Then we will say laser dot transparency is equal to, or sorry, not one, sorry, my bad, is equal to transparency, right? So whatever we're setting that to, then we're done with that function. We can move on to our next function. Next function is set base locked. So pretty much whether or not we are locking the base or unlocking the base, right? So local function, and then we will say set base locked, right? Then in parentheses, we will have the base and then whether or not we are locking it or not. So this would be true or false. Enter, and then we will simply say base dot wall lock dot can collide is equal to lock. This would be either true or false. Then we will of course set lasers dependent on whatever we're doing. So base comma locked and 0.5 or 1. Remember, if it's 0.5, then that means they're visible, the base is locked. Um, if it's 1, then that means they're invisible, they're transparent, right? So then moving on, we have our next function, format money. This is for simply formatting money to display to the player and stuff, whether it be the price of an NPC or it be the amount of money the player currently has. So local function, say format money, right? In parentheses, we will have the amount, however much it is, enter. Then we will say if amount is greater than or equal to 1e6, enter. Then we return string dot format. Then in quotation marks, you're going to put the money symbol, percent symbol, dot 1 FM, or sorry, it's supposed to be a capital M, right? Then you're going to go on the outside of the quotation mark. Then you're going to say comma, amount, then you're going to divide it by 1e6, right? Then you're going to press enter, then else if, right? Or actually just type the word else and then just copy the if statement we just made. So control C, control V, just copy and paste. You're just going to change you're going to change this 1e6 to 1e3, right? And then here you're just going to change this part to K. So FK, and then just go over here to 1e3, right? Then skip the end, and then you're going to say return. So pretty much if it's neither one of those, return quotation marks money symbol dot dot dot. Oh my bad. Dot 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 amount, right? Then on we have a for loop next. So we're then going to set up the base stuff. So pretty much this is essentially locking any player. Like when the player first joins the game, some players bases will be locked, some won't be. So we need to see whose base is supposed to be locked and lock it for the player who just joined. So we will say for underscore comma base in I pairs break space get children enter, right? Then we will get the owner. So owner is equal to base find first child owner, right? If owner is not found, then that means it clearly is not a base. Or if owner dot value is equal to none, which means nobody owns said base, then we will continue and skip on to the next base. We need to check all the bases in the game, right? Then we will get the lock base. So lock base is equal to base, wait for child. Then we will say lock base. We're going to check this value of the is locked. So we're going to say if not lock base dot is locked dot value. So if the base is not locked, or if owner dot value is equal to player dot name, obviously we don't want to lock the player out of their own base, right? Then we will continue again, skip on to the next base. So if we pass all those checks, then we will lock the base. So we will call the set base locked function, pass the base, comma true, since we are in fact locking the base, right? Then we will set up our function. We will say lock base dot is locked whenever this value changes, connect function, right? In parentheses, you're going to put locked, so whether or not the base is locked or not, right? Then you will say if not locked, the base is not locked, then we will say set base locked, and then we will pass along the base, comma false to simply unlock the base, right? Then we are done with that function. On to the next, we have the remote event stuff for the client. So we will say core event on client event connect function. In parentheses, you're going to put event type, right? Then you're going to put comma arg1, short for argument number 1, comma arg2. These are literally just pieces of information that's being sent over from the server to the client. Then press enter, right? Then we're going to set the first event. So if event type is equal to in quotation marks log base, enter. right? Then we're going to create a variable for our base, and then we're going to create a variable for the duration of set lockdown, right? So we will say if base dot owner dot value is not equal to player dot name, enter, then the base needs to be locked for them. So set base locked, base comma true, enter, then you can just say else. Then you can say notify. We will notify the player that their base is locked. So our message will say something like, you have locked your base. You can write whatever message you want. You have locked your base. And then we also need to send over the color of said message. So comma, you'll say color3 dot new. Then we could just do 0.33 comma 1 comma 0, since locking your base is pretty good. Then we can also set our lasers, so we can say set lasers, the specific base, comma 0.5 to let players know that the base is currently locked, making the lasers visible, right? So then after that, we were going to go ahead and move forward with our for loop. We will say for I is equal to duration, comma 0, or let's put space, comma -1, right? So it's going to count down from set duration, enter. We will say if not, base dot lock base that is locked dot value, enter, break. So pretty much if the base has unlocked itself during the countdown, we're gonna just break out of this code and stuff. If not, then we are going to continue with updating however much time is left until the base automatically unlocks itself. So you say base dot lock base dot lock GUI dot lock text label dot text is equal to I dot quotation marks seconds, right? Then we're done with that for loop. Moving on, we will then set base locked. Once that's over, we can unlock the base. So base comma base, so set base locked, base false, right? Then we will update the text. So base dot lock base dot lock GUI dot lock text label dot text, right, is equal to in quotation marks lock base. We capitalize that, right? So lock base, right? And then one last if statement to end of this event. So we will say if base dot owner dot value is equal to player dot name. So pretty much if player owns said base, insert, then we will notify them that their base has been unlocked. So we will say notify your base has been unlocked, right? Then comma color3 dot new, we will do 1 comma 0 comma 0, because that's not really a good thing. That's usually like a warning, since it's in all red and stuff, that your base has been unlocked and that your NPCs can be stolen. So you're going to skip one end, then you're going to throw an else if. So else if event type is equal to in quotation marks. This time you're going to say unlock base. So when the base is ready to be unlocked, enter. You're simply just going to create a variable for said base, set it to be equal to arg1. Then you're going to say set base locked base comma false, and then just simply update the stuff. Oh, well, yeah, this is the same actually, so we could just copy and paste this. So Control C, Control V, right? Then let's move on to the next event type, which is NPC. So pretty much what this is for, this is essentially just updating the NPC's text, I believe, like the text above their heads. So we'll say else if event type is equal to in quotation marks NPC, enter. Then we will create a variable for the NPC event, whatever is going on exactly, is equal to arg1. And then we will have the NPC themselves, so arg2, right? So what we will say is we will find the prompt. Prompt is equal to NPC wait for child, in quotation mark, humanoid parts, and then we say wait for child, in quotation marks, proximity prompts, right? And then what we will do is we will say prompt dot action text is equal to NPC event, right? And then from there we're done with that event, and then on to the last one, which is simply just update money. So else if event type is equal to update money, right? Enter, then we'll say money text table dot text is equal to format money. Then we would say players dot leader stats. I feel like I'm tripping. Yeah, leader stats dot cash dot value, right? So pretty much this event will run every time the players however much money they have changes, so that it can properly reflect how much money they have in the bottom left. Moving on to our last function for the local script. So we will then create a variable for the leader stats folder. So leader stats is equal to player wait for child leader stats, and then we will create a variable for cash. Cash is equal to leader stats. We say wait for child cash, right? Then we will go ahead and say money text table dot text is equal to format money cash dot value. And then of course, as the value of cash changes, right? Function in parentheses, you're gonna put amounts, enter. We'll then say money text label. The text is equal to format money, and then you can put amount, right? Boom, we are done with the logo script. We can go on ahead and we can go on ahead and move on to the server script. Okay, good job so far, guys. So we're gonna find server script service right here, plus icon, find the script. You're going to rename this to be core script. In parentheses, you're going to put server, enter. You're gonna delete print hello world. We're gonna create a whole bunch of stuff just like we did on the local script. First things first, get the player service. So we will say local players is equal to game service players, right? Then we're going to create a variable for the physics service. We're going to call this PS for short. So PS is equal to game get service physics service, right? Create a variable for replicated storage. So RS is equal to game get service replicated storage. Then let's create a variable for the server storage. So um, I guess SS for short. So it's equal to game. I guess we'll just do game get service server storage, right? Then we'll create a variable for our remote event. Core event is equal to rs wait for child core event. Then let's create a variable for our NPC folder, which is equal to so I haven't even shown you guys that yet. Okay. So I feel like we should probably get into that probably now. So let's pause right here. Okay. The one thing I already had made before this video, like that I decided to keep before I started recording, is the NPC folder. Now, my reason for this, I genuinely do not feel like going through and making and like redoing all of this again. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe it's laziness. I don't know. I don't really care. But I'm just gonna explain. It is very simple. Okay. So your NPCs, your units, whatever you want to call them, you need a folder to keep track of them, what they look like and stuff, all of their stats, everything, right? Whatever that's supposed to look like. So find server storage, plus icon, insert a folder, name that folder NPC folder, right? That's what this variable is going to be for. You're gonna you're gonna open said folder. Well, if you don't have anything inside, it's obviously not gonna open. You're gonna insert a folder into this folder, right? Whatever folder you insert will be the name of the unit, the name of your Brainrot, the name of the NPC. So as you can see, I have the default ones from Steel Brainrot, Nubini, Pizzanini, Tapa di Ferro, Tim Cheese, right? So inside of these folders, you're gonna have all of your information. These two are number values. Literally, all you're doing is hitting the plus icon, just typing number value, string value. That's all you got to do, right? So you have money per second. Make sure everything is spelled the exact same way it is for me. Your values don't have to be the same though. Money per second, price, rarity, it doesn't have to be the same, right? All that matters is that you have them and that the names are spelled properly. But yeah. So money per second. How much money is the NPC going to generate per second? The price. How much does the NPC cost to be bought and, added to your base? The rarity. How rare is the NPC? How rare is it for the NPC to spawn and stuff, right? These are the values you need to have. Then you have your rig. Your rig is your NPC itself. If you're using a custom model, this is not going to work and stuff. You can make it work, but you kind of have to figure that out. Like you have to figure out the part when we get to the part, like everything else will work just fine, but when we get to the part of making the NPCs like actually like using pathfinding, making the NPCs like walk across the thresholds, like this carpet right here, and making them walk to bases and stuff, yeah, you'd have to figure that out. I don't know how that'll work off the top of my head with non like humanoid characters and stuff. So you guys have to figure that out, right? But the point is, this is like a default rig. Like I can go ahead and show you guys. If I drag this into workspace, you're gonna see there's like just like a default Roblox thing, right? It's just literally just a default thing, right? It's just a rig. All I did was click avatar, character, and then just added this, right? But yeah, so some things you need to have. So make sure your actual model is named rig. Make sure it's named rig. Very important. They all need to be named rig, right? You notice how in the other ones they're all named rig, right? So inside of your NPC, here are some things you need to have. You need to have a number value. Again, plus icon, then just search for it. Very simple. You need to have money value. This is how much money the NPC currently made you and stuff, right? It's gonna be set to 0 obviously until they're bought and start working. Then you're gonna have an NPC name value, the name of said NPC, right? So NPC name, this is a string value. Then you have status, this is another string value. This just simply represents the status of the NPC. What are they currently doing? Are they inactive or are they active? Inactive means they're just walking across the threshold. If they're active, that means a player bought them and they are currently generating money. And then I want to say that's about. Oh yeah, make sure you also have a proximity prompt. Find the human or part plus icon, type in proximity prompt, and then just insert a proximity prompt. And then you can customize it in EB if you want to change the text, the hold duration, all that stuff, up to you. But yeah, just make sure it has a proximity prompt and some part of its body. Now here I do have an idle and walk animation. This is more so kind of optional. If you don't want animations, you don't have to have them. It just looks better when they walk and they have an animation playing and stuff. You guys can't use my animations. If you guys literally just window toolbox, go find animations. If you don't know how to find animations, how to publish them, and how to get them like ready to use and like scripting and stuff like that, let me know in the comments. I can reply with a video. I explained how to find assets, how to get them free and to publish them, and it's very easy and simple. So just let me know. But yeah. So I want to say that's really about it with the NPCs and stuff. So just make sure you have your NPC folder set up and good to go and stuff, right? Just you literally just adding values, adding your NPC, just renaming it to rig, and then that's pretty much it. Okay, now back to the coding. So NPC folder is equal to, we're going to say SS for server storage, right? Then we're going to say wait for child NPC folder. Last variable, we're going to create a module script. So core script, we're going to click the plus icon. You're going to insert a module. That is the wrong thing. You're going to insert a module script. You can go ahead and rename this to be core module, right? And then of course we'll go here and then just rename this to core module, then I will copy, paste, go back to the server script, and then create a variable for it now. So core module is equal to require script dot core module, right? Then we will start off with our first function, so a protect call function. So pcall function close parentheses enter. We will say ps for the physics service, ps register collision group. Then we will say players. Then we go to the next one, same thing, register collision group, NPCs, right? Now, I do want to clarify something. We are using the physics service to register collision groups, right? The reason for this is that we do not want the players in NPCs or the NPCs in other NPCs colliding with one another, like being able to, stop them from walking and stuff. That's what we're using the physics service for. We are creating collision groups. We have players and then NPCs, right? Then we will set them. So we will say PS. We will say collision group set collidable, right? We have, and then make sure everything is spelled exactly as is. So we have players, comma, NPCs, right? Comma, false. This means they should not be able to make contact with each other. If this was true, then I mean they'd be allowed to. And PS, collision group set collidable, and then this time NPCs with other NPCs, right? So NPCs. If you want, you can also do players. If you want to make, you literally would just add another line and then just do players and players if you wanted to make players not also collide with each other. So yeah, we'll say NPCs and NPCs. We don't want two NPCs to be able to collide with each other. So false. So boom. Then moving on to our first function, we have get bases. So simply what this is going to do is this is going to get all of the current bases, right? So we're going to say local function, then we will say get bases, close parentheses, enter, right? Create a table for our bases, so bases equal to special brackets, right? Then let me scroll down real quick. For underscore comma Then we will say object in iPairs workspace get children enter. We will then say if object find first child. You guys already know if you find the owner value, that means it is a base. Insert, then we'll add the table. So table.insert, we'll add it to set table, comma, then it'll be the object inside of the base. Skip two ends, and then you can say return bases. So all of the bases once we're done. Then onto the next function, we have get player base. So we'll say local function. This is, I believe, when we're just simply searching for a player's base. So get player base, then in parentheses put player, enter. Then we're going to say for underscore comma, then base in iPairs, and then we're just going to call our get bases function, right? Enter, then you will say if base dot owner dot value is equal to player dot name, and if that's the case, we will return the base. That means we found the base we were looking for, right? Then moving on from that function, we have our lock base function. So we will say local function lock base. Then we will have the base as well as the duration, however long the lock is supposed lock or unlock. Excuse me, the lock is supposed to be, right? So then we will say base dot lock base that is locked dot value is equal to true. Then we will say core events fire all clients in quotation marks say lock base comma base duration task dot delay with the duration comma then the function close parentheses enter, right? Then we'll say if base, so if a base exists, and base dot parent enter, then we will simply unlock the base. So base dot lock base that is locked dot value is set to false, right? Then we will skip lock base. Moving on to the next function, we will say local function. It will say unlock base. Then we will put the base enter as an argument. We will say base dot lock. Literally just the complete opposite of what we just did. So base dot lock base that is locked dot value is equal to false. Core events fire all clients quotation marks unlock base. My bad. Unlock base. And then of course send over said base, right? Moving on to the next function, we then have the setup collector. If you don't know what that means, this pretty much means we're just setting up the collector so the players can collect the money from them and stuff from their bases. So local function, and then we will say setup collector. In parentheses, you're going to put a platform, right? This is so that they collect their money from each individual NPC. So enter. Then you will say platform dot collector. This is the part we made earlier. Dot touched connect function in parentheses put hit enter. You will then create a variable for our supposed character. Character is equal to hit dot parent. Then base is equal to platform dot parent, right? Then we will say if character dot name is not equal to base dot owner dot value, because we obviously only want the owner here. You shouldn't be able to collect other players' money. So then we will return. However, if they do match, we will proceed. We will then say if platform dot current unit dot value is equal to none. So this as well, we also need to return because that means no NPC is currently on that platform making the player any money. If we pass all that, we will then create a variable for the players by doing players. We will say players find first child character dot name, and then we will create a variable for the NPC, which is simply platform find first child in quotation marks put rig, right? Then we will say if not player or not NPC. So if there's no player or there's no NPC, then we will return one last final safety check, and then if we're ready to proceed, we can proceed. So player dot leader stats dot cash dot value plus equal NPC dot money dot value and stuff. So we're just giving the player their money. Then we will reset NPC dot money. So money dot value is set to 0. Then onto our next function, we have the setup basis function, right? So moving on, local function setup base. In parentheses, you're gonna have this specific base. Enter. You would say base dot lock base dot touched connect function. In parentheses, you're gonna put hit. Enter. A lot of the same stuff. It looks to me. We can actually, in all honesty, I want to say copy this stuff. So um, I want to say let's do this. Let's copy this part right here. We're gonna Control C, Control V. Right. We need the character. We don't need this part. We don't need the base right here. So we need the if character.name is not equal to, so if it's not the owner, or if um I believe this is if the base, yeah, if the base is locked. So if base dot lock, if base dot lock base dot is locked dot value, right? Which simply just means if it's equal to, this is the same thing as just saying if it's equal to true, right? If the base is locked, then we will return. If not, we will lock the base. So lock base, send over the base with the duration. You guys can set this to whatever you want it to be, however long you want bases to lock for. I set it to 60 seconds. Then after that, I'm going to skip the end. We're going to use a for loop for underscore comma object in pairs base get children close parentheses enter, right? Then we will say if string dot find, we will say object dot name comma quotation marks we will put platform enter. Then we will say setup collector. We will say setup collector, pass along the object, and then we can move on to the next function. Let me just make sure we are good. All right, we are good to go. Okay, cool. So moving on, we then have our cleanup base function. So this is for whenever a player leaves the server. So we will say function cleanup base, then this specific base, enter. Then we will reset the base's owner value, so it should be set back to none. The sign as well, so base dot sign GUI dot sign text label dot text is equal to quotation marks empty base, right? Then use a for loop for underscore comma. You'll say then you would just simply say object in pairs and then base get children close parentheses enter, right? Then you would say string dot if string dot find, oh my bad, if string dot find, let's say object dot name comma and quotation marks platform. So we're looking specifically for platforms enter. So if it's not a platform, then we're going to skip it. If it is a platform, then we will say object dot current unit. We will reset this dot value is set to none. No NPC should be asset platform. Then we will update the collector as well. So object dot collector dot collector GUI dot collect text label dot text is equal to an empty string. Then we can go ahead and just copy and paste and do the same thing. So Control C, Control V, and then just literally just change this to be any text label, right? Then from here we'll create a variable for set rig. Rig is equal to object find first child in parentheses put my bad in quotation marks. You put rig, right? This is why I say it's very important to name it rig. So if rig, then rig, we will update the rig status. So the NPC rig is just another word. I'm just using it interchangeably with NPC. So status.value is equal to an empty string. Or should not empty string. It's supposed to be set to inactive. It's 3 in the morning, guys. I am a little tired. I'm not gonna lie. But rig destroy. We will destroy the rig. After that, we will then skip 2 ends. Then we will say if base dot lock base that is locked dot value, enter, then unlock the base. So the base is locked, then we will unlock the base. Boom, very simple, right? Then moving on, we will use our for loop to go ahead and set up our bases. So for underscore comma base in pairs. We will call the get bases function, enter, and then we will call the setup bases the setup base function and attach the provided base, right? Now for the players that player added. So players that player added. So this function runs whenever a player joins the game. So player added connect function in parentheses put player, enter, right? We will then create a variable for base, right? We need to find the player a base. So we'll say for underscore comma, we are looking for an available base in pairs. Then you can just call it get bases. So we're gonna get our bases. Then we'll say if available base dot owner dot value is equal to none. That means we found an available base. Enter. Then base is equal to available base, right? And then after that we will break because we were done here. Then we can skip the two ends. We will say if not base, then return. So if we couldn't find any base, then we will simply return. We will say base.owner, literally the opposite of what we just did with the other function. Base.owner.value is equal to player.name. Base.sign, sign GY, sign text table.text is equal to player.name. The dot quotation marks, space, apostrophe S, and then base. So just say the player's username and then base. Then let's go ahead and create the leader stats folder so that we can see all our visible stats. Bro, I hope I'm not getting sick. Is equal to instance.new. I ain't glad it almost took me out. Anyway, folder, and then leader stats.name is equal to leader stats. Then leader stats.parent is equal to player, right? And then we're going to go on ahead and create this. Bro, I don't know why I'm dying. Oh my goodness. Anyway, same we have cache is equal to instance.new. This is going to be a number value, of course. So cache.name is equal to cache, right? Then cache.value. So by default, this should obviously players start the game with some money. So I'm gonna say 1,000 by default, but it's up to you guys. Cache.parent is of course equal to leader stat, so the players can see. Then we're gonna have an owned units folder. Owned units just keeps track of like whatever units the player currently owns. So owned units is equal to instance.new. It's gonna be a folder. Owned units.name is of course equal to owned units, and then owned units.parent is equal to player, right? Then we're gonna set up a function player.character added connect function in parentheses put character, enter. So when the player respawns, we're going to pivot. We're gonna set their C frame to their base's spawner C frame. So boom, they're pretty much gonna spawn at their base, and then we will say for underscore comma object in pairs character get children enter. We will simply just say if object is a base part enter. You will say object dot collision group is equal to players, right? Since these are parts of the player, and then you're going to skip three ends, and then you're simply just going to call the lock base function. Usually by default it's like 20 seconds, but it's up to you guys again, however long you want it to be. I'm just call lock base and set it to be 20 seconds. Moving on, we have our last function of the server script. Okay, so we have when the player is leaving, of course, so players the player removing, same thing. Connect function parenthesis put player enter create a variable for the base. Base is equal to get player base the specific player. We will say if base, right? If we found the base, then we will clean up said base, right? And then lastly, we just need our while loop to call our spawn NPC function. So while true do, we will say core module. We haven't created the function yet, but we will create it in a little bit. Spawn NPC, close parentheses. Then, of course, we're gonna put a delay in between. So however many seconds you want in between spawning each NPC. I'm putting 3 seconds, but it's up to you guys. Okay, guys, we are good. All right, we are done with the server script. Let's go on ahead and let's move on to the module script. Okay. So the module script should honestly take longer than everything else, but at least we'll be done once we're done with this. There's really nothing else to do after this except for like debug the obvious issues there will be, because I highly doubt I'm writing over 500 lines of code and uh, at 3 in the morning and there will be no mistakes. So I highly doubt it. But let's go ahead and let's get into it. Okay, so we need the pathfinding service. So PFS for short, pathfinding service is equal to gain get service. If you don't know what that is, it's simply that's literally creating a path. That's how we're gonna guide the NPCs. That's how NPCs like walk to certain points and move around and stuff on their own. Then create a variable for the player service as per usual. Game get service players, right? Then replicated storage rs equal to game get service replicated storage. Then create a variable for server storage. So ss equal to game get service uh, server storage, right? Then for the next thing, we're going to create a core remote event. Core event is equal to rs wait for child core event. Then let's create our npc folder, which is ss wait for child npc folder, right? And then lastly, we're going to create an npc table, right? So we're going to say local npcs, and then you're going to say is equal to special brackets enter, then special bracket. Now I do want to clarify something. Right? You see how we have the NPC folder, we're going to call on that. This is why it is very important for you to make sure all your NPCs are good, right? You're going to add all of your NPCs to this table, right? This is very important. All this is, it just has the information about the rig, how much money and everything. It's just information about them. But this is about the chance, the rare, like the chance of like, them being spawned. So you're just going to say model, right? This is the actual like kind of rig itself. Model is equal to NPC folder wait for child, Tim Cheese. I'm just gonna go. You don't have to go in the same order as me or in a specific order. I mean, I recommend going in order just for just it's probably easier for you to debug things and like just read, in my opinion. But yeah, so we'll say chance. Chance is equal to 10. Now, the higher the number, the higher the chance of that NPC spawning. So the lower the number, the rarer it is. So I think you guys understand where I'm going with this. So we are then just going to slap a comma on it, and then we're just going to just copy and then just keep going down the line. So just copy, paste, paste, right? So for the second one, we then have top of deferro. As for chance, we're going to set this to be 50. Then we have Nubina Pizzanini. So let me get this real quick. Nubina Pizzanini, chance 90, right? Pretty much higher the number, higher the chance of getting the NPC. Now, let's go ahead and let's create our first function. So we have format number. This is actually pretty much the same as our formatting function on the local script, wherever that is. Right here, it's format money. We can just go find format money, copy it, paste it, bring it here, literally, and then you're just going to change it. You're just going to change this to the format number. Pretty much the same. Instead of amount, it is now number. So just Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, just copy and paste, very simple. So I'm pretty sure if anything, this is the exact same thing. Yep. Yep, this is the same thing. FMFK, yep, same thing. Return. Okay, yeah, literally the only difference is for this return statement, we're gonna just say toString and then number, right? So boom. Then moving on to our next function, we are going to get the player space. So we will say local function get player base. Then we're going to have the player as an argument, enter, right? We will say for underscore comma in I pairs workplace get children, or sorry, workspace, not workplace, workspace get children, enter, right? Then we will find the owner value. So owner is equal to base. Oh, my bad. Is equal to base. Oh, my bad. I completely forgot. It's supposed to say base right here. That's why. Base. Okay. So yeah. So base. Find first child. Owner. So as long as it's found, right? So owner and owner dot value is equal to player dot name. So if someone owns it and this is in fact the owner, then we will return back a base, right? Then moving on to our next function, we have the get empty platform. So to find an empty platform for an NPC. So we will say get empty platform. In parentheses, you will have the base, enter, then same thing for underscore comma platform in I pairs. We say base get children, close parentheses, enter, right? You would say if string dot find, then you say platform dot name, comma, quotation marks, platform. So once we find a platform, we just need to simply make sure that it's usable. And platform dot current unit dot value. Current unit dot value is equal to none, which means it would be available. So if set to none, then we will return the platform, right? Then moving on, we have our generate money function. So when we want our NPCs to generate us money. So we can go on ahead and name this. So this is one of our regular functions. So we will say core module dot generate money, right? In parentheses, we will have the specific NPC folder. So if you don't understand what that means, this is the general NPC folder. Your specific NPC folder could be this, or that for us. So just pretty much whatever, whichever NPC we're dealing with at that time. Then the NPC, this is the actual NPC model itself. So the rig, essentially, right? That's what that is. So the rig. And then lastly, the platform is being stored on. Enter, right? Then again, this is where we're going to play the animations. If you guys don't have animations, then you're just going to skip this part of the code. So we have the idle track. Oh, my bad. So we have the idle track is equal to npc dot humanoid dot animator load animation in parentheses. Then you're just going to say npc dot idle animation and then idle track play. Again, skip the part if you don't have an animation. Then we are going to create a variable for the money label. So money label is equal to platform dot collector GUI dot money text label, and then we're going to create a variable for our connection so we can cut this off. So we'll say connection, and then connection is equal to npc dot money dot changed connect function in parentheses put amount, enter, right? Then we're going to say money label dot text is equal to, oh, my bad, dot text is equal to, in quotation marks, the money symbol, right? Then another dot format number, and then you're just going to pass along the amount, right? Then you're going to skip the end, and then you're going to set up a while loop. So while npc dot parent and npc find first child status, enter, right? Oh, and then, oh, sorry, one last thing, and make sure the NPC is active. So npc dot status dot value is set to active, right? And then we're going to say npc dot money dot value plus equals, it's going to increase by specific npc folder dot money per second dot value, right? Then we will simply wait 1 second, right? And then after our while loop is done, we will say if the connection exists, then we will disconnect it, connection, disconnect, boom, right? Then moving on, we are ready for our next function. That was for generate money. Now we have the actual buying NPC part. So we will say function core module.buy NPC, right? Then for the arguments, we will have the player, the NPC, so the rig, and the specific NPC folder. So literally the same thing as last time, right? Enter, get the player's local cache. So cache is equal to player dot leader stats dot cache. Then we will say if cache dot value is less than specific NPC folder dot price dot value and stuff, which simply means you just can't buy the NPC stuff, right? What we are going to do is we are simply going to re-enable the NPC's prompt. So we'll say NPC dot, or wait, NPC dot, I cannot spell today. NPC dot humanoid root part dot proximity prompt dot enabled is equal to true, and then we will return, skipping the if statement. And then we will create a variable for the base. Base is equal to get player base, then a specific player. We'll say if not base, then return. If you can't find a base, of course we will return. Then create a variable for the platform, which is equal to get empty platform, right? Then again, pass along the base. Then we'll say if not platform. If you can't find a platform, then we're going to do the same thing. So Control C, Control V, and then simply return. So just copy and paste. Once we made it through all that, we can now actually begin setting up the NPC's information. So we can say npc.parent is equal to platform, right? Then npc.humanoid root part dot proximity prompt dot enabled is equal to false, right? Then from here, we're then going to say platform dot current unit value is equal to npc dot npc name dot value, and we will say cache dot value minus equals specific npc folder dot price dot value. So pretty much just subtracting the money that you owe. Then we will create then we will actually create the unit itself, the unit value. So we'll say unit is equal to instance.new string value. Then we say unit.name is of course equal, we will say platform.name. Wait, I feel like that's wrong. Wait, what? Platform unit, that's, oh, no, I believe it's actually, I think, yeah, no, I think that's right actually. Anyway, we'll say unit dot value is equal to specific npc folder dot name. Then we'll say unit dot parent is equal to player dot owned units. And then lastly, we will say core module dot to, we haven't created this function yet, but we will in due time. Destination, I believe I'm spelling that right. Oh no, I'm not spelling that right. Destination. Okay, there we go. So to destination, we will send over the NPC, the platform, the player, the specific NPC folder, as well as the base. Wonderful. Okay, and then we are done. Moving on, we then have our setup prompt function. So on to our next function. So function core module dot setup prompt. So this is to set up the NPC prompt so that it's ready to respond and stuff. So we'll say specific NPC folder, comma NPC, enter, right? We will then create a variable for set prompt. Prompt is equal to npc dot humanoid root part dot proximity prompt Then we will create a variable for our connection. So it's equal to prompt dot triggered connect function close parentheses, or sorry, in parentheses you're going to put player, enter, and then you're going to say if npc dot status value is not equal to inactive, then return, right? Then that means that there's no need for them to, yeah, pretty much. Nothing needs to happen. Nothing needs to happen if they're, if they were bought by a player or something. But yeah, so we then, so yeah, so then we then have this, if, wait, oh, my bad, guys. I feel like yeah, I messed it up, my bad. I'm only supposed to skip, yeah, I'm supposed to only skip one end. Yeah, my bad. So skip one end, then we'll say prompt dot enabled is equal to false. Then we will set up the by function core module dot by NPC player NPC specific NPC folder. We'll skip the end, right? And we'll say NPC dot destroy connect function close parentheses enter. We'll say if connection disconnect, right? Then from here, we will then move on to our next function, which is the toDestination function. Probably going to be our longest, most complex function, but we are here for it. Okay, and moving on. So we then have our next function. So function core, oh my bad, and I can't, good lord, I can't type today. Core module that's to des, wait, I don't know why I'm struggling spelling. To the destination. So we have NPC, then we have the signed platform, the player, the specific NPC folder, as well as the base. Enter. Okay, let's go ahead and use all of this to get started. Okay, so first things first, we're going to create a path. So path is equal to PS, and then you're just going to simply say create path, right? Then we will create a variable for our waypoints. For now, we will set this equal to nil. Our next waypoint will be set to 1 because that's literally where we're starting. So your starting point. So next waypoint is equal to 1. Then we have our function. So reached destination set to no. Then blocked destination is also set to no. Right. Then let's set up our protected call function. We will go on ahead and say local success, error message is equal to protected call function close parentheses enter, right? We will then compute the path compute async. We'll say npc dot humanoid root part dot position, comma base dot spawner dot position, right? So then on from here, we are done with this part. We can skip the end. We will then say if success, so if the path was computed successfully, and path dot status is equal to enum dot path status dot success enter. Then we're going to say waypoint is equal to path get waypoints, right? Then from here we will then say blocked destination is equal to path dot blocked connect to function. In parentheses, you're going to put blocked waypoint enter. Then we're going to say if blocked destination, or sorry, not blocked destination, if blocked waypoint is greater than or equal to next waypoint, then blocked destination disconnect, and then core module dot to destination. We'll call the function again with the exact same stuff as the first one, right? So boom, so we'll call to destination again. Then trying to think. Once we're done with that, then we can skip the two ends. We can say if not reached destination, enter. We can then say reached destination is equal to NPC. This is supposed to be humanoid, so do humanoid dot move to finish. This method used to make the NPCs move. Connect function in parentheses. You're going to put reached. Enter. If reached, I'm a bad. If reached, um, if reached and next waypoint, if reached and next waypoint is less than the total number of waypoints, then we are good to go. Enter the next waypoint plus equal 1, right? Then from here, we will say NPC move to, move to waypoints. We say waypoints, regular bracket, next waypoint, dot position, right? Then we'll press enter. We will say else if. So else if next waypoint is equal to the number of waypoints. Enter. Then we use a for I loop to stop them from like any animation tracks currently playing. So for iv in iPairs, we will say npc dot humanoid dot animator. You say get playing animation tracks. Enter. Right? Oh, my bad. Close parentheses. Then there we go. Enter. Okay, there we go. So then from there, because inside is supposed to be like that, right? Yep. We will simply say v stop. Then you're done with that. Go on the outside. Then you'll then set some other things. So we will say npc pivot to. We're gonna set it C-frame. So pivot to. So you guys may need to mess around with these numbers a little bit if the NPCs are looking weird. If they're not like in the proper position, then you guys can adjust these numbers as need be, of course. Assign platform.cframe times cframe dot new -1, 2, -1 on the outside. We're gonna say times cframe dot angles 0, math dot rad. We'll say 180, comma, and then lastly we have 0, right? I cannot lie to you guys, I am very tired. I'm not gonna lie. But that is that though. So then moving on, we have assign platform dot collector GUI dot collect text label. Dot text is equal to collect, right? So boom, we then have collect. We will say npc dot status dot values equal to active. So this is when the NPCs are officially, they have made it to the player's base, by the way. That's what all of this is. They will say task, they will say task dot delay 1 second, comma function, close parentheses, enter, right? They will say npc dot humanoid root part dot anchored is equal to true, right? So it's equal to true. And then after this function, we're then going to start disconnecting everything. So reach destination, disconnect, and then block. The same thing for block disconnection as well. Then lastly, we will say core module. We will start them generating money for the player specific NPC folder, comma NPC dot assign platform. Then we can skip 3 ends. We will say NPC dot humanoid. We'll say NPC dot humanoid move to waypoint, regular bracket, next waypoint. Go on the outside, you're going to say dot position, right? And then we are almost done. We just got some more functions left. So the next thing, so that was probably the longest function. We should be done with that, with all the moving and stuff. So next we have the choose random NPC. This is just the randomization logic, so very simple. So function core module dot choose random NPC. Close parentheses enter. So we would then create a variable called total weight is equal to 0, right? Then we use a for loop for underscore comma NPC data and I pairs NPCs, right? Enter. That would say total weight plus equal NPC data dot chance. I think is that what I named it? I honestly, I really don't remember. Where did I even put the? I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember where did I even put? What was that? Oh, it is here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It is chance. Okay. Cool. Did not mean for that to be there. Oh, so say in pairs. Okay. There we go. Plus equal NPC data dot chance. And then let's go ahead and let's calculate a random number or random weight is equal to math dot random total weight. And then we will create a variable for the current weight, which by default should be 0. Then again, for underscore comma BC data in I pairs. Then they're going to say this time NPCs, or well, we already did that, but enter this time we're going to say current weight is plus equal NPC data dot chance, right? Then lastly, we're going to go right here, and then we're going to say if random weight is less than or equal to current weight, enter, then we will return NPC data, but specifically the rig itself. Notice how we went model and then rig and stuff. That's the whole point, right? The next we have the spawn NPC function. So this is when the NPC actually spawns in the game. So we will say function core module dot spawn NPC, close parentheses, enter. So first we need to get our NPC. So we can do that by simply saying core module dot choose random NPC. And then of course we need to make sure he's cloned and not the original. So then we will parent said NPC to the workspace's NPCs folder, right? Then we need to create a variable for our specific NPC folder. So it's equal to NPC folder, right? And then you can say regular bracket NPC name value, right? That would be the specific NPC folder. Then from here, we're simply just going to say npc.head.info GUI. Wait, I feel like, oh, I feel like I actually forgot. Oh, my bad. I am so sorry, guys. I am so sorry. I actually forgot to mention that. The one other thing I forgot to mention with NPCs, you do need to make sure that they have this info GUI. Okay, so just like before, this is a billboard GUI. Find the head. You're going to insert a billboard GUI. Here are like the properties, right? So 10 by 6 for size, 0.1 for size offset. Here are all the properties. Then inside, they all have different text labels. You have money per second, name, price, rarity. Literally all the stats that we already covered. It's just, I just forgot to tell you guys that you need UI for this stuff. And then it should be pretty simple. You guys see my position 0.5 and the sizing of all the stuff I'm going to show you guys. So you guys have no problem at all getting everything into place and stuff. But yeah, so we're going to update that with all of the NPC's information. So we're going to say head.info GUI dot price text label dot text is equal to in quotation marks money symbol dot format number. We're going to say specific NPC folder dot price dot value, right? And then that was the price. The next thing is the name text label. So name text label. Now this should just be specific NPC folder dot name. So we can just clear this out. So specific NPC folder dot name should be that simple. Then moving on, we have rarity. So we will then go here, rarity text label. And as for this, we will simply just say, I'm trying to think. All right, specific NPC folder dot rarity dot value, right? And then lastly, one more time, for our money per second. So this is our money per second text label, right? And then we're simply just going to go here, just marks money symbol again. Then you're gonna say dot 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 specific NPC folder dot money per second dot 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 quotation marks slash s, right? So boom. Moving on from that, we're then gonna get to our for loop. So for underscore comma object in I pairs, and then we're gonna say NPC. We're gonna say NPC or get descendants. So get descendants, enter, right? We're gonna say if object is a base part, enter. Then we will set their collision group. So object dot collision group is equal. We're gonna designate it as NPCs. Then we're gonna say object set network owner. By default, we'll set this to nil, right? Then we will skip the two ends, right? And on for the last parts, we will pivot to the NPC. So we will say pivot to, this is the spawner, so workspace. So workspace.npc spawner.cframe, right? Then we'll say core module. We'll say core module dot setup prompt specific NPC folder NPC, right? And then we will set the moving as well core module dot NPC. We haven't made this function yet, but move NPC. And that's actually the next function we will be making. We are almost done, guys, I promise. This is actually the last function we will be doing. And then we will officially be done. Let me just go ahead and test to make sure. Okay, we're good. All right, then we just go ahead and just play around and just see if things work. If not, we'll fix it. Okay, last function. So function core module.npc move. Of course, the provided NPC, enter. So let's go ahead and set up the checkpoints, right? So to destination was for the NPC actually moving from the carpet or the spawner, if you will, moving towards the player's base. This is for them walking across the threshold, the carpet, right? So we'll say checkpoint. So it's very similar, We say checkpoint number is equal to 1. We say NPC dot humanoid move 2 workspace dot NPC spawner dot checkpoints regular bracket quotation mark check. So we'll just say checkpoint dot 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 checkpoint number on the outside dot position, right? And then we're going to again with the animation track. If you guys don't have these, then it's fine. You can just get past this part. You don't necessarily need it. Humanoid animator load animation parentheses. You can just put NPC walk animation, and then we will play said animation track. So we will play it, right? Then moving on, we have our move function, which will be set to no by default. Then we have the Then we have the checkpoint total, which is equal to workspace.npc spawner dot checkpoints get children, and then we'll just put the pound symbol in front of it. That way we get a head count, right? Then what we'll do is we will set up our function. We will say move function is equal to npc dot humanoid dot move to finished connect function, right? Then we have reached enter. So then we will say if npc find first child in quotation marks humanoid root part and npc dot humanoid root part dot proximity prompt dot enabled is equal to false, right? We want to make sure that's the case. Move function disconnect. We will end everything there and stuff. This says human report proximity prompt dot enabled is false. So yeah, so this should be when, yeah, I guess like if someone stole it, or if it just in general just the NPC just stopped. Yeah, I guess if it's, yeah, if it just ended up doing something else, essentially that's pretty much the point. And then we'll just say else if not reached, enter, then return, right? Then we'll increment checkpoint number plus equal 1. Then we will go ahead and write up our if statement. We will say if checkpoint, we will say if checkpoint number is equal to checkpoint total. Oh, my bad, that is not supposed to, where is checkpoint total? Supposed to be a lowercase o. Just paste that real quick. So if, okay. So if they reach here, then that's how you know they are done. We can say NPC destroy. Checkpoint number is equal to checkpoint total, right? And then we can destroy. Move function disconnect, right? And we'll say else. And then from here, we will simply say if npc dot parent is equal to workspace dot npcs, then we can say npc dot humanoid move to workspace dot npc spawner dot checkpoints, break the back quotation marks, and then we're just gonna say checkpoint. I'm just gonna say checkpoint dot 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 checkpoint number outside dot position again, right? And then we're gonna press enter, else enter. Then you're just simply gonna say move function disconnect, enter, return, right? And we're going to, oh, okay, if, oh, my bad, I forgot the parentheses. Then we're just gonna skip, I think this is, yeah, we're just gonna skip 3 ends. We're going to go here at the end. We're going to create a variable for the parent function. So parent function, so by default should be set to nil, and parent function will be set to the NPC when it's in ancestry changes. So ancestry changed, connect function, close parentheses, enter. Then we will simply just disconnect from our functions. So move function and parent function. Okay, guys, we are officially done. Oh my goodness, God bless. Okay. That took forever, guys. I'm literally so tired. Make sure you guys go ahead and publish. Let's go ahead and test to make sure this works. As always, if you guys want access to any one of my scripts or models, which includes this, read the description to find out how to gain access to that. The link to that will be in the description. Anyway, we are having some problems, guys. Not gonna lie, things aren't looking too good. Let's see. Money per second. Wait, what? Money per second over GY info GY. Is it not? Hmm. Hold on, guys. Let me make sure. It wouldn't surprise me if I type something wrong. As I said, guys, I am tired. Okay, so info GUI. Oh, my bad, guys. My bad. I forgot to put I forgot the actual the text label part. I just put, yeah, I just really put money per second, but not like text label. Okay, let's do that. And then there's an infinite yield on leader stats. Let's make sure leader stats is being created just fine. Um, just make sure this is, yep, being parented to the, yep, see, okay, yep, here's a mistake. Make sure you guys spell leader stats right. I accidentally did this right here. Leader I don't even, yeah, I don't even know how to do that, but yeah, I'm just gonna copy, paste, update it, boom. So make sure you guys fix that. If you guys spelled leader stats wrong, it should just be leader then stats. So fix that if you need be. This is on the server script. You guys can see the lines to the left. Okay, hit play. Let's get back at it. Okay, and another error. Okay, so just bear with me, guys, as we fix all this stuff. Attempt to concatenate instance with string. Oh, my bad, guys. This is supposed to say dot value at the end. Dot value at the end, right? Money per second dot value. Okay. Okay. Get to descend. Yeah, I think that's just me being an idiot. I spelled that wrong. Descendants. Okay, this is the module script. So let's see. It's supposed to be a capital D actually. DES then send it. Oh, I think yeah, that should be. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay, so yeah, that's good now. Okay, but yeah, like I said, link is in the description. Find out how to get access to this. You can access this file and any of my other files. Just simply read the description to find out how to get access to it. As you guys can see, you guys should be having NPC spawning under your base. You see my monies displayed in the bottom left as well and stuff. The NPCs are moving and stuff, and then they're despawning once they reach the end of the thing. So if I go over here and we go over to log base, give me a second. And if your base has been unlocked, okay, clearly it is something is wrong. I don't know why exactly the base is, yeah, something is clearly wrong. So something is wrong with the base locking. We'll check that out. In a second, let's check out the NPC buying. What happens if I try to buy it? Owned units is not a valid member. Oh, okay, my bad. Okay, go to the module, right? This is the buy NPC function. Make sure you do player, not players. It's supposed to be singular, not plural. So I'm gonna hit play. Go back. We're just fixing one bug at a time. Again, over 500 lines of code, guys. So highly doubt it's gonna do something. Okay. Something is going on. So I'm able to buy the NPC, but they're getting stuck. They're not being able to go that way. Or go that way. To be able to come back. Okay. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Let's see. Our problem is clearly with two destination, because two destination is the one where they actually go to a player. Or they whatchamacallit, they walk, yeah. So let's see. I'm reviewing my stuff. Waypoint equal nil. Next waypoint is equal to 1. Success error message. Path compute async. Human report. Oh, right here. Here's the problem. Right here. Path compute async. You guys see this? Capital U right here. Supposed to be lowercase. Yep. So fix that and the to destination function. Make sure you guys don't have yours like that. Now let's see if they go to my base. Okay, so we're getting a little different now. It's like they turned for a second, but then they changed their mind at the last second. Okay, so path compute async. Then we have base.spawner.position. If success and path.success is equal to m.path. Waypoints is equal to path. Get waypoint block destination is equal to path.block connect function blocked waypoint. If blocked waypoint is greater than or equal to next waypoint, then disconnect core module to destination NPC assigned platform player specific NPC folder. Oh, actually, I didn't need to pass along base the second time, but yeah, I mean, I don't really think that would matter all that much, but still, I'm just gonna check. But yeah. So then we have if not reach destination, then reach destination is equal to npc.humanoid dot move to finished, right? If reached and next waypoint is less than the number of waypoints, then next waypoint plus equal to 1, npc to human. Oh, I see the problem. Okay, I see the problem right here. So right here, guys, this just says NPC move to. It's supposed to say NPC dot humanoid move to, right? So to make them actually walk. So waypoints next waypoint dot position. Else if next waypoint is equal to number of waypoints, then animated. Yep, all that greatness. Okay, let's hit play. Let's try it again. There the NPCs go. If you don't have an animation playing, they'll just walk. Okay, there we go. All right, and now they're walking. They should walk. There we go. Okay. So as you guys can see, okay. So this is very good, very good. Again, I did the same mistake. Go back, replace the capital U with a lowercase u, but this is very good though. You're looking very good. So I don't know if you guys noticed. Um, but not only did the NPC go to my base, so look, the NPC went to my base. Look, I can only buy two NPCs, right? If I try to buy a third, can't buy it because I'm out of space, right? Ah, I see, I spelled anchored wrong. That's why that's why it's looking weird. But you see how they're generating me money? I can collect that money as well. So that's working. It's just I spelled anchored wrong. So it should be anchor anchored like that. Okay. And then I just want to make sure that this looks good. Okay. Come on. And then let's okay. So the NPC is facing the wrong direction. So what that means is we just need to simply adjust this. We just need to adjust this. Play around with this until the NPC is eventually facing the correct direction. Like I don't know if I need to like, do 90. I don't really care all too much about that because that's really something you guys can just play around with yourselves until the NPC is facing the correct direction. Because literally all you're gonna have to do is just play around with this line of code right here. And until the NPC is just facing, yeah. You see? Because now he's facing that way. Um, so like 260. Let's see, 260. Yeah, I'm not really going for perfect here. I'm just going for decent because you guys are getting the idea of how to get him to face the correct direction. Yeah, see, now he's facing the correct direction. So you can just go with 260. Boom, you collect money. Okay, perfect. Perfect, perfect. Okay, cool. Right. So we now have our NPCs, right? Very cool. Now, our issue is with lock base. So clearly the base is not locking properly. So let's go ahead and let's address that. Okay. Let's test one thing while we're at it. As you can see, we already see that money updates. Let's make sure that the base updates properly if the player leaves. So I'm going to switch to the server side. I'm going to manually delete my player, which will, yep, there we go. Empty base removes the NPCs and resets it back to essentially as if the base, yet the base belongs to nobody. Okay, cool. Perfect. So let's figure this part out now with this, um, uh, my brain is not burning. Oh, right. This lock base stuff, right? Let's figure this lock base stuff out. Okay. So we get all the bases, right? Lock base. I'm just gonna go to I guess the original part. Yeah, just gonna go to the original part. So we have lock base dot lock base dot is locked dot values equal to true. Fire all clients, lock base duration, if base and base dot parent, and base. So okay, we have the duration. Okay, and then setup base. This is supposed to be 60 seconds. So lock base is supposed to be for 60 seconds. Okay, cool. Set base locked and 0.54. And the lasers don't even, I realize the lasers don't even become transparent either. Okay, this is lock base. Oh, wait, I think I get it. I think I see what's going. Yep, I see what's going on. After, okay, yeah, right here. I forgot to add this. Task dot wait 1 second right here in this for loop right here. Lock base. That's what it is. I forgot to add the 1 second. That's why it's not like counting down. Yep, see, you have locked your base. Yeah, there we go. See, that's what it is. You have locked your base. For a set amount of seconds, you can see the lasers stuff. I can't lock it since it's already locked. We'll wait for it to unlock, and then I should be able to relock it. And this time, instead of 20 seconds, it'll be 60 seconds. 20 seconds is just for when the player first joins the game. Okay, there we go. Base was unlocked. There we go. Okay, see? And notifications are working as well. There we go. Okay, I see the problem. So that was just the issue. I forgot the 1 second wait time. But yeah, so that's pretty much how you make a Brainrot game in Roblox and stuff. Again, pretty much modeled it after Still a Brainrot and stuff. Pretty much used a lot of the code from my Still Brainrot series, just changed and edited it to make it much more efficient and easier to read and understand. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, definitely leave a like and subscribe. If you guys want to see more videos like this, me covering other topics, let me know in the comments. Definitely leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed. Check out the description, find out how to get access to any one of my scripts and models, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys are having a great summer, and I'm hitting you out with more content too. Thank you for watching.